This is East Carolina Offensive Coordinator Donnie Kirkpatrick. We are talking one of my favorite things, Pirate football, on the Sports Objective, the official, unofficial podcast of the Pirates.
Yeah. My heart is purple and gold. I'm a pirate down of my soul, and I don't back down, not at all. Find out when the cannons explode, from the sidelines down to the post. Put it down like not even close. All out to the last whistle blow. From the flag with the soul and crossbones. Everybody stand up, get your hands up. Let a team know that we got they back. This is our house, this is our town. On top, every 1-9 copy that. Everybody in the stands go bananas. Scream loud, but don't hold back. Every foot, every yard, every first down, every touchdown with the cannons blast. Get it on, get it all, get the wave going like a hurricane, y'all make a splash. Tell me what you came for, if you can't show love, come on baby with your purple patch.
Welcome in to the Pirate Preview right here on the Sports Objective. Very big nights, obviously, for us as we're getting ready, breaking it down with East Carolina and number 3 Cincinnati, as we found out tonight. Officially in the playoff as far as the polls are concerned. More incentive to knock off the Bearcats. We'll find out about that. With us right now, we have Bubba Rosenbaum. What's up, dude?
Doing well, Dave. Hope you are. Just fired up for some Pirate football on Friday afternoon. Should be a tremendous atmosphere. Ticket sales, are going well. Apparently the packages that have been sold on the Purple Friday or whatever they called it, about maybe 4,000 of those. So hopefully we'll have in excess of 40,000.
Yeah, my guess is I've been saying, guys, 43,000. And guys, this is actually a huge game with Cincinnati coming to town. 2 guys, Bubba, that know about being giant killers. Maybe they can rub that off onto the guys now playing on the field on Friday at 3:30.
Yeah, very excited to have these Pirate letter winners back on the program. Longtime color analyst Kevin Monroe, and also one of the best return men in East Carolina history, Keith Stokes. Gentlemen, how are you?
Good. Glad to be here.
Keith, thank you, and Kevin, thank you so much for coming on tonight. Obviously, a huge ball game. Is this the biggest? Do you think this is the biggest game we've had hosted, Kevin? I'll start with you in Dowdy-Ficklen history.
Yeah, I think just because of how high Cincinnati is ranked, you gotta say it is. In terms of the big name schools that we played in Dowdy-Ficklen, the West Virginias of the world, and Virginia Tech when they were ranked really high, Michael Vick and people like that. We've played some big games. Even going back to 80s and 90s, there's been some big games in Dowdy-Ficklen Stadium, but no one's been ranked this high, and so you got to put it right up the top.
No question about it. And with us right now, joining us, Kyle from Grange Barber. How are you, man?
Hold on, guys. I got to get my headset here. I'm on my phone instead of my tablet, and can't hardly hear.
Nothing like some up downs, right, Kevin? After the show, I guess Bubba he'll make sure that happens. He'll take care of the discipline after the show. But no doubt with you guys with the games, talk about, I guess, with your mindset. I know it's different eras, but when you have a big game like this and you're a player, I know Coach Donnie K was talking about the guys were already in the film room an hour before things started. How do you keep an even keel when you know that you're playing Cincinnati on Black Friday? How do you keep that where it's just another game as you hear of the coach speak?
Yeah, as Keith will attest to, we were really good. We were really good in the mid to late 90s, and I think in my career we averaged 7 wins, and we had 8 one year, 9 one year. So we were very confident, no matter who we were playing, that we could compete and that we could win. And so I can remember we had a player committee, which is a group of juniors and seniors that Coach Logan brought together before the season started to kind of handle issues in the locker room or what have you. And so he brought us together and he said, guys, I need you to talk to the fellas. We've got 4 huge non-conference games coming up in West Virginia, South Carolina, Duke, and Miami. And he said, we need to win 2 of these 4 games and then run through the conference, and we're going to have a great year. And if you can just keep the guys on task and get them focused, I look over at Jeff Carr and Pernell Griffin and Sherman Lacewell, and I'm like, 2 of the 4, we want to win all 4, coach. And so, sure enough, that's what we did. And we always had that mindset that we could beat anybody. And I remember that we opened in Charlotte against West Virginia, and in the news that week, they were overheard saying that we were lightweights, and they were looking past us.
Wow.
And Coach Connors got a hold of that clip and played it for us. And he had T-shirts made up that said lightweights on it. And as soon as that game was over, you may remember that there was 75 players with lightweight T-shirts walking out to shake hands with West Virginia. We were putting them on notice that we were no lightweight. So I say all that to say, I feel like the program is getting back to having that swagger where they every game they feel like they can win. The last time I was on you guys' show was the first game of the season, and you had the guy on from App State, and he just confidently sat up here and said, we should beat you guys by 3 touchdowns if we play well. And to me that was a gut punch. You never want to hear App State say we should beat you by 3 touchdowns if we play well. And if we play that team today, it'd be a much different story than what it was week 1. And so I feel like this team just has a whole new swagger, and I think Cincinnati will find that out.
Kevin, Dave mentioned about it being another game, and how do you keep that focus? And you talked about the confidence you guys had back in the '90s, and obviously Keith can attest to that also. But do you kind of embrace that it's not just another game? Because it ain't. I mean, when you're playing the number 4 team in the country according to the college football playoffs, higher than that according to the AP and coaches poll, it is what it is. You might as well not pretend, to ignore the elephant in the room. They're a top 5 football team. It's a special opportunity. It's not just another game.
No, it's not. And it's not just East Carolina. If they were playing, Miami this week or Florida State this week or Alabama this week, they would recognize that they're playing another top 5 team. So East Carolina's going to notice it as well. They're going to notice that they're playing a top 5 team coming into Dowdy-Ficklen Stadium, and it's going to be on national television, and they want to beat them. And so, yeah, you absolutely notice that. And anytime you're playing a huge opponent, you're going to notice who they are and what that game means to the program. So, yeah, there's no doubt the players realize it and recognize it.
Is there anything you do differently as far as we talk about the mental preparation, but what about, is there anything with, speaking to Coach Connors, I just texted him, let him know that you guys were on. Is there anything in the weight room? Is there anything you do outside of your routine, or you just keep it, I guess, the same?
I think everything stays the same. You do have to approach each week the same way. Now, you're obviously going to have your scouting reports and all you're learning their tendencies and stuff like that. That'll be different. But any coach will tell you, you got to do what you do right first and foremost and focus on that, and then worry about the other team. So in terms of how they approach this week, they're going to approach it the same way and just make sure they're ready in terms of mental preparation for Cincinnati.
Keith, Cincinnati's secondary is maybe the best secondary in the country. In fact, I don't even know if maybe's an operative word there. They are the best secondary in the country, at least that I've seen. When you were at East Carolina and you played a secondary that was really, really good, is there anything you did differently in those games? I mean, did it get you more fired up as a receiver, knowing you were going against elite corners? And what would be the best secondary you faced when you were a Pirate?
You mean the Miami team that had 3 first-rounders?
There you go.
I mean, to me, as a receiver, we're divas anyway, so we want to put our name on the map. So if there's a first-round guy across from me, let's embarrass him so I get my name put on with everybody else up there, which whoever else the big-name guys are, receivers out there at Alabama, Ohio State. If this is the best, this is why I want to see the best. To let them know that I am one of the best receivers that beat the best DBs. And any player that plays at East Carolina has that chip on their shoulder. Regardless where he came from, walk-on, non-walk-on, full scholarship guy, this is the time to put your name on the map.
And Kevin, how about the fact that I was telling you pre-show, and Keith, I don't know if you heard that, but in the green room, that it's amazing to me. Maybe it's a good thing, but all the national media, I'm not sure. I'm not going to put it on Cincinnati that they're doing it, but the media is overlooking this game. They're talking about, I've heard at least 3 interviews I can think of off the top of my head where they've automatically talked about Cincinnati may have a trap against Houston. a trap game in the championship game, and they're not even talking about our game. It's like the game doesn't even exist. I just can't believe that they would not give us total disrespect.
It's funny, and I know you asked this to Kevin, Dave, but I personally think the way Cincinnati plays defense and how Houston is susceptible to pressure, and they're not very physical. I personally think Cincinnati's going to beat the dog shit out of Houston.
Yeah, I think that it is interesting, and I can go back to a week ago when they were about to play SMU. The announcers are saying this was the last real test before the Houston game. So they had already skipped over us, and it was still over a week away. And so, that's what happens. That's what happens when you start out 0-2 and you've had, 6 straight losing seasons. People just kind of get that East Carolina synonymous with losing lately in their mindset. And unless you've played us, unless you've watched us play several times, you don't know what's coming at you. And honestly, even this team over the last month is so much better than it was, a month ago when the season started, because Holton Ahlers is playing lights out football right now. And I couldn't say that about him the first couple of weeks. The decision making has gotten so much better. Running the football when he should run it has gotten so much better. The turnovers have gone down. And so, it's just, if you haven't watched East Carolina play, you can't make an assessment of whether they'll be competitive against Cincinnati or not.
Kevin, how important do you think it is with Cincinnati's defense? And I mentioned their secondary. This goes without saying that we established the run early to provide Holton to be able to utilize the play action in the passing game. Because if you can't run the ball against this Cincinnati defense, they're going to tee off on Holton all day.
Yeah, and that's with any team in the nation, right? If you can't run it, then they're going to just, start blitzing you and coming at you and not worrying about anything making you one-dimensional. And Cincinnati does it better than anybody else. They're only giving up about 305 yards of total offense all season long, 16 points to opponents, 149 or 150 rushing, 155 passing. It's just ridiculous numbers that you don't see in today's football, right? In today's football, where everybody's running the spread, everybody can throw for 250, everybody can run for 150. It's easy to do that. Everybody scores 25 points a game. Not against Cincinnati, you don't. And that's the reason that they've been so successful, because they've been able to stop people, because they haven't always been great on offense. And their offensive numbers aren't spectacular. They're just averaging around 400 yards a game, 250 pass, and it's not anything that scares you, but you can't score on them, and that's the big issue.
And Keith, speaking of which, I was going to ask you, as far as a wide receiver, with knowing how good that secondary is, knowing how good the defense is, as a wide receiver, how do you get open against those cats? They're like they're so good.
As Kevin said, during the week you get your scouting report. Everybody has tendencies, regardless of how good they are or what they've done. So you've done your homework on your scouting report. Everybody tips off something, and when you find it, you just keep nailing at it. Regardless of how much you practice or what you do, your tendencies are your tendencies. They never change, regardless of yours. You are who you are. So once you find that little edge, you just got to attack it and keep going. Because really, at the end of the day, when push goes to shove, you need a play or need something to happen, whoever that person is, you're going to your tendency, whether you lean to the right in cover 2 or in cover 4, the safety shifts off the hash, and I know this is going to happen, I'm going to change my route on whatever it may be just to get open. And honestly, the athleticism from a East Carolina receiver and a Cincinnati DB is literally a hair difference. Realistically, it's just a hair. It's not a huge difference on athletic ability when that ball's in the air or anything like that. It's just rather are you fitting that Cincinnati mold that they wanted to get, or you fit East Carolina mold we wanted to get as receivers. There's not much of a big difference there. I didn't see from watching Cincinnati play or us play. We have some athletic guys over there, man. No one thought that little 22 would be what he was. Like when I first saw him, like, oh my God. First saw him, and now he's like, this boy's over there killing. Like whoever's in front of him, he is over there killing. And, 5 came out strong early. When he first came out, he jumped out. But you see he's spectacular. 8, he's an animal too. Like we have players on our side of the ball that can make plays. And this is a little biased, our two running backs we have back there, they get rolling, buddy. I don't care what defense you got. It's going to be a long day. So whether they
no
pop
doubt.
one early or start pounding you early, I mean, it could be a long day for Cincinnati, even though their defense is what makes them who they are.
Kevin, I'm going to change it.
Now, Keith,
Go ahead.
you referenced Tyler Snead. I know you were in Annapolis over the weekend, Keith, for that Navy game. Man, you talk about Tyler's play, Holton on that key fourth down there to tie the ball game, hooking up with Tyler on that slant route. And then prior to that, to put us in that situation on the second down play on the post route where they were in cover 3, and Coach Kirkpatrick talked about that during this week's press conference. He was a little hesitant. After he had called the play, they were expecting a too high safety look, and then once they got that, he was glad the safety bit up. But what a tremendous play on the football by Tyler Snead to take it away from the Navy DB.
Yeah, I mean, I was really impressed with how he played. He's not afraid to go into traffic, catch those tough balls. That was a tough catch. I mean, you're in that traffic knowing that guy's going to be there, and he kept his eyes on the ball, called it, quarterback put it in perfect play, and he breaks the tackle like he always does and finishes the play.
Keith, Kevin, I'm sorry. I was going to switch subjects on you just for a minute and take you back to Saturday to the call of the field goal. Listening to y'all's radio call on the Varsity Sports app in replay after I watched the game. When is the last time you heard Jeff get that excited during a football game? That reminded me. I know we over the last few years we had that many exciting moments. The Memphis game the week before was one, but that call, that field goal, that was late '90s Jeff Charles.
Yeah, I learned everything I know in the business from Jeff. Right, he had already been here 15 or so years when I joined the crew, and so everything I know I've learned from him. And the one thing I learned early on was not to be a homer. Right, you can't just sit up there and scream and holler and cheer for East Carolina just because you call the East Carolina game. You have to appreciate the guy from NC State or the guy from Appalachian State that has to listen to the game on your station. And so you get excited for plays, but you get excited for plays on both sides, and you just want to call a good game. But when it comes down to it, we are Pirates, and so him getting so excited was really cool. And of course, I'm gonna get excited. Those are my guys, and that's my school. We beat Carolina, 10 years ago or so ago with a field goal, and I remember that call as well. And everybody always comments about how I was saying no flags on the field or whatever. And that was Jeff was also going crazy on that one. And so those two kind of come to mind. When you win it like that in the last second, it's just special. And I can also remember a few years ago when Central Florida beat us on the Hail Mary in our own field and what it felt like for the air to go out of the balloon in the opposite direction. So we've been through a lot of those.
No doubt. I'll tell you one thing to sidebar real fast. Marty Fuhrer, man, whenever these controversial calls or whatever, to have him on the field is incredible. The guy knows the playbook better than as far as the when it comes down to the officiating and the rule books and all that. He knows it better than the people that made the rules, man. I'm telling you.
Marty's sharp. He's been there longer than me, and he knows the deal. He's definitely a great addition to the program.
Saying Marty knows officiating better than these American Conference officials is weak praise indeed. I tell you what, man, when they picked up that flag on that kickoff return, on not only was it a hold, it was a friggin' tackle. And for them to pick up that flag, I don't work for East Carolina, and I'm not part of the broadcasting crew. And this ain't the Big 12, and this ain't Texas Tech. But I'm going to say it. That conversation had to be between those officials. Hey, man, that's Navy Senior Day, kickoff return. That play really didn't affect this play. Just pick the flag up. What other conversation would they have been having that made them pick that flag up? It was blatant cheating. And I'm going to call it like it. I don't – you tell me – somebody tell me what other conversation they could have been having that made them pick that flag up besides somebody went, it was a hold, but it really didn't affect the play. Just pick the flag up. It's senior day in Annapolis. I don't know what other conversation could have been going on than that one for them to pick that flag up.
They were just asking where they were going to go eat after the game, Kyle. That's all they were doing.
Well, it may be, but I just somebody, in the explanation that Coach got from the conference was they screwed it up the call. But why did they? How do you? There's two calls. That one, and then I go back to the Tulsa game on that final drive where they reversed a call that they got right on the field by making the wrong call in the replay booth. I just don't know how those things happen. I just do not understand. If you miss a call, you miss a call. But to get a call and then reverse it or pick up the flag, I don't know how that's anything but cheating. Kevin, I know you're not going to comment on that. Kevin's not saying a word.
He loves it. I love my job. I love my job. Well, there's no doubt about it. There's no doubt about it when it comes to the one good thing I will say, Kevin, is that now that we can't say one thing that's optimistic about it is the fact that we're in 50-50 games now. Before, if they made bad calls, it didn't matter because we were getting blown out. So now when we're in 50-50 games where the game can go either way, and we're trying so hard to win, and people that have never played sports don't understand how hard you guys do on the show that are on right now, how hard it is to win a game, period. And so when you have a 50-50 game that can go either way and you have a call or two that's just horrible, then I will say this, they're more noticeable now because of that.
Yeah, if you look back over the 11 games, we could very easily be 10-1, right? I'll give it to Appalachian State. They were better than us that day. I think it'd be a different story if we played them later, right now, but that day they were better than us. But the other three losses, South Carolina, Houston, Central Florida, those are all games the Pirates could have won, maybe should have won. And so to have that feeling, knowing that you have been in every game, you had a chance to win almost every game, these calls matter. They do matter. And so, if they're in the first quarter, if they're in the fourth quarter, you want the officials to get them right. And especially having replay, you want them to get it right. So I couldn't tell, from my angle, and they didn't show the replay in the booth on the holding call. I just knew that he called it. And it's very rare they pick up those kind of flags. So I was surprised by that. But yeah, those calls late in games can make a difference. Huge difference.
I was listening to you guys as I always do, and Jeff said that all the games he's called something to the effect of he'd never seen that before. He said that to you and Marty.
Yeah.
So
picking up flags, is especially the way the play ended. Right, they scored a touchdown, the flag on the field since he crossed midfield, and then they talked for a few minutes and then pick it up. It was very odd.
Yes, exactly. And I was going to, and we'll move on from the Navy game, but I have one more thing I wanted to bring up to Kevin and Keith about the that Navy game and see if you guys agree, disagree. We got in the situation there at the end with the clock management. What in the world ever happened there? Who knows? And the penalty, and it ended up being a 54-yarder. And I was thinking about this. Had Owen Dapper, and I know he's a cool, calm, collected dude, but had that been a 40-yard field goal or a 38-yard field goal, I wonder if he could have put pressure on himself. Whereas it was a 54-yarder, nobody thought he was going to make it. I don't even think he thought he was going to make it. And I think because of it being a 54-yarder, and it wasn't for the win, it was for overtime, I think he just went out there completely relaxed. And I wonder if it was a shorter kick, it might have been a different result.
I'll let you comment, Keith. I would just say that the fact, as you just mentioned, the fact that the game was tied and that we were going to go into overtime if he missed it, I think that takes all the pressure off. Yeah, you want to make it, but the fact that you're not going to lose the game, I think is big in the mind of a kicker.
Kickers are different guys, Kev. You know that. So I mean, who knows what he was thinking? You think the whole time of the game, all he does is kicking that net anyway. So to him, it could have been just another practice kick. Because literally, I sat in front of him at the Navy game, and I'm not joking. He probably kicked into that net probably 50 times in that whole 2 hours. Like that's all he did. Kicking the net, ran off, kicked the ball off, extra point, kick back, kicking the net. So I'm like, this is just practicing him. He's gonna make that regardless of what it was. I don't think he saw pressure there. I mean, it probably did have something to do with that miss or make. I mean, if we missed it, we go to overtime, so no real pressure there. But I mean, I hate to say it, you only got one job, as they say.
No pressure, right, Keith? No pressure.
I mean, kickers, that's what they breed off of, is pressure. Everything they do is pressure. It's not like as a receiver or a D-back, you got 4 downs. Kicker, you got 1 play.
It's true.
So, I mean, they are the epitome of pressure.
That's very true.
Used to say back in the day, kicker, don't get your name in the paper. Because if you got your name in the paper as a kicker, snapper, or holder, and most of the time it ain't good.
Yeah, no doubt. And, another thing about that kick, I was thinking about this earlier or the other day. What if Holton don't get that 2-point conversion to CJ? And now suddenly that kick's completely different. It's instead of a tie game, it's a 2-point game, and that kick decides win or lose. So I'm glad Holton went through his progressions and CJ came up with a tougher catch, as Bubba pointed out. And I went back and watched it. That catch CJ had in the end zone, Keith, for that 2-point conversion, where he had to kind of reach back. That was a tougher catch than people give credit for.
Oh, it was a tough catch. It was in trap. I think the DB actually hit the ball.
Yeah.
And they actually came through and snatched it when he got it. So that's big pressure right there.
Yeah, like you're saying, that's what I told Kyle. As soon as it happened in the game, that not only was it behind him, the DB put a decent little lick on him as he was catching it. So hats off to CJ on an excellent play. And here lately, even though he hasn't had high volume in terms of catches, he's had some really big plays. 3 for something like 89 on Saturday, and he's done a better job of, from everything I can tell, as far as keeping his emotions in check.
Yes,
no doubt, Bubba.
CJ's the kind of receiver that I think because of the success of his freshman year, he caught a lot of deep balls, and they kind of labeled him the deep ball guy, and he got that in his head that that's who he was. And so from then on, it seemed like he only kind of wanted to run those routes. And not only that, and Keith may be able to speak to this, I didn't see any real like footwork from him off the line, anything special. He almost asked for the receiver contact. He wanted to run right next to the receiver every time downfield and then go up and catch it over top of him. And that's it's hard for a quarterback, especially one who may be going through a rough patch, to trust you enough to throw you the ball even though you're covered. And so what it seems like they've done recently, now that they've got Omatosho going deep and they've got a Hatfield that can do it when he's healthy, they've started running slant routes and out routes and comebacks to CJ where he can catch the ball coming back to the quarterback and then turn and use that big body of his to stiff arm and make a move after the catch. And he's been so much more successful running short routes, I think, than he was running deep routes these last year or two.
Yep.
I know as a receiver, sometimes it's a lot easier, kind of sounds crazy, catching the ball when someone's on you and they bump you and they're moving around. And I slow down and play that, then catching the ball that's open.
Yeah.
Which, hindsight thinks maybe it's not, but the pressure's on you out there, so you're wide open, you drop a ball, someone's there, but you have the excuse in the back of your mind if someone's on you, oh, he bumped me, pushed me. Me personally, you might concentrate a little harder if someone's leaned on my back and I'm jumping to grab that ball than you would be running a wide open post route or wide open slant route. And you focus a whole lot harder.
Yeah, no doubt. You focus more, and then you don't have the opportunity to think about it, like you're saying, when you're wide open.
Yeah.
Guys, when you look at this game Friday and you think about ABC, Cincinnati, top 5 football team, and I've been listening to the to Gilbert and some of the other guys trying to promote the game to pack Dowdy Ficklin, and sometimes Thanksgiving weekend can be a tough draw because the students are gone, et cetera, et cetera. Now they're calling for rain. Think it's supposed to clear out by game time. So morning rain. So Pirate Nation, if you see the rain in the morning, come on out. It's supposed to be gone by game time as of right now, anyway. Kevin, are you surprised that the fans haven't come back faster than they have? And I know part of it is kind of we started winter. There's been bad weather the last couple home games, and the first half of the season we weren't playing. It kind of turned around at Marshall, but I really thought once we started winning that the fans would come back and we'd pack it again. Are you kind of surprised that we're having to push to try to get I'm hearing mid-30s for Friday, and God, that's so disappointing to me. I was hoping for at least 40,000 in there.
Yeah, I'm a little surprised. There's obviously lots of factors. First, the losing of the last several years. A lot of Pirate fans just been really disgruntled, and they want to know, is it really real? Okay, they won a couple games this year, but is it really real? Or that, if I go, will I see them play hard? Week in and week out. You mentioned the weather. There's been some odd time games that may not be good for people to come out to. And then there's COVID, right? I know we're a year and a half into COVID, but for my personal family, we buy 2 season tickets for my boys every year, and my boys haven't gone to a game this year because pediatrician mom says no, I don't want them in those big crowds. My youngest isn't even vaccinated yet, right? Because he couldn't get vaccinated until this past couple weeks. So there's lots of different reasons. I expect that things will turn around as we get, as we continue to win, and as we get into the next year, and as things become maybe safer and more people are vaccinated. But tons of factors. But yeah, it hurts to not see Dowdy Ficklin full like we're so used to. We used to dominate in conference. We dominated Conference USA, dominated American Conference in attendance, and we probably still are, just because those teams draw so bad. But it's not the normal Dowdy Ficklin we're used to.
And don't forget, folks. We have coming up after Kevin and Keith. We'll have, from the Cincinnati perspective, we'll have Chad Brendel from the Bearcat Journal, 24/7. He's kind of like the IGO for Cincinnati. Kevin, I want to ask you, from being a DB, and I know where your love is the defense. Desmond Ritter is one of the best quarterbacks in the nation, not only in the AAC. If you're Kevin Monroe and you're playing him, how do you stop that guy?
Well, the tough thing about Ritter, right, and that's with any dual threat quarterback, is the threat of his ability to run, right? Because as a defensive back, well, first of all, you show me a dominant lockdown corner, I'll show you a good pass rush. And that's just the way it is. You're not going to be – there's no corners out there that can cover for 6, 7 seconds, 8 seconds. If a quarterback's got all day to throw, I don't care how good you are at the position, you're going to get beat. So when you have a corner that's playing lights out, it's because people up front are doing their job. And so as long as everybody's doing their job, but he can still sneak out of the pocket and run for 20 yards, what do you do about that? And, okay, you leave a guy back in to spy him. Who are you leaving? You leaving a linebacker? Because he's outrunning any linebacker. So then you leave a safety to spy him. Now you take a man out of the middle of the field that you need help recovering these receivers that are really good. So just the threat of the run is what makes Lamar Jackson so good, and so many others in the NFL, Josh Allen. You have that threat of that ability to do that. It just changes everything. And so now you got to rush upfield, but keep him in the pocket. So it's scary. You got to do your job in the back end and not give him anywhere to throw it, but put the pressure on him up front. And hope to God you have a guy or two that can run him down if he starts taking off running.
Yeah, no doubt. Anytime to me you have a dual threat guy, it becomes almost like you're damned if you do, you're damned if you don't. If you bring too much pressure, he may pull it down and run it, like you said. If you don't blitz much, then he's going to run around back there until somebody comes up and in coverage. So it's always a tough situation. Kevin, I was going to ask you something, and talking about attendance made me think of this, and then we'll get back to the game. But what is your opinion? A 2-part question. What's your opinion on Conference USA, Lord, on the Americans expansion? The teams we brought in with Charlotte, UTSA, North Texas, Rice, UAB, uh, and Florida Atlantic. What is your opinion on the teams we added? And then looking over at the Sun Belt with the decisions they made, kind of being able to bring in Marshall and Southern Miss, and App State's already over there. Just your opinion on what the American did and what the Sun Belt did.
I don't know that East Carolina is long for this conference anyway. I think this kind of pans out, but at some point there's gonna be more conference realignment, and I think there'll be another shift. There's so many teams from the Texas area in this conference. All of a sudden now there's no short flights anywhere. It's just the teams in the East that are leaving. This is the Central Floridas of the world. It's just hard to establish any kind of rivalries in this conference. Everything's just too spread out. And so, East Carolina long term, a Big East, an ACC, that kind of thing has got to be what we're looking towards. But you got to win. You got to win, and you got to continue to sell tickets in your stadiums in order for people to look at you, because you're not in the television market. So you got to sell tickets, and you got to win football games and build up that reputation. And had the Pirates kept going from the 90s, where we put the program, through the 2000s and up till now, there's no telling where we'd be conference wise. But you have that lull with John Thompson, and you pick it back up with Holtz, and then you have that lull again. It's been tough. I think obviously the Sun Belt is probably is a winner in this in terms of who they brought in versus who we brought in. But just for geographically, I don't know how the Pirates stay in this conference long term.
Yeah, you got Charlotte, which at least they're regional. I really don't have much interest in playing Charlotte in football, basketball, baseball. Yeah, not football. You got Florida Atlantic, South Florida, UAB, Temple, Navy, but Navy's probably going to be in the West Division because they want to play those Texas schools and those private schools, which really is irritating in a way because they're very regional. Not irritating because you don't have to play that triple option every year if they're not in our division, since we're going back to divisions.
Exactly.
But when you talk about, obviously the goal would be to suddenly dominate the American over the next few years and get in the Big 12 next time they expand. But if that doesn't happen, I'm kind of with you. I wouldn't be surprised if we don't end up in the Sun Belt if we don't end up in a Power 5 league, because the money's eventually going to drop in this conference. The TV deal right now, we're getting $7 million per. That's not going to happen when this contract gets renewed in 2030. And 2030 sounds like it's a long ways away. It's really not. And I really believe if we're not in a Power 5 conference by then, we probably go to the Sun Belt at that point to play with Marshall and Appalachian and Coastal and our old friends down at Southern Miss. I mean, there's a lot more natural rivalries in that conference.
Yeah, and when we first got into Conference USA, 96, 97, whenever that was, in my playing days, we thought that we'd be able to win that conference every year. And obviously we didn't, but we were at least in the running almost every year. We competed with Southern Miss. We just couldn't get over that hump to win that conference. And then you get into the American, same thing. You think, okay, this is a conference you can win. And then, it started getting better and better as they brought more teams in. And then you get into this conference where, wait a minute. I mean, I think 2 or 3 years ago, we had 5 teams at one point in the season were in the top 25. And so all of a sudden this conference is gotten really good. It's the best conference nobody knows about. And so, with people like Cincinnati leaving, Central Florida, Houston, the conference gets a little bit weaker. UT San Antonio looks pretty good, but the conference is getting a little bit weaker. And so, you got to step in now and say, okay, we got to take over. We got to start winning this conference. We got to get a couple championships, and then you see what happens.
Kevin, with when it comes to our, like Kyle said, when it comes to the conference, you're exactly right. We got to win, and we have to win at a high level. You can't have we have the winning season now, which is, thank God we have a winning season. It's hard to imagine it was 6 straight losing seasons, but you got to win, have winning seasons and win at a high level. And the other thing that's missing for me right now is we have a commitment to our athletics program commitment. We need the facilities. I think that Terry Holland, they were subpar. Terry Holland did a nice job 10, 15 years ago of bringing them up to at least par and what is now the American. But the problem is that you always have to. It's like working on a house. You always have to be working on your house. If not, it's going to get further and further and further behind, or things go down. So I'm hoping. I've been told behind the scenes that January we're going to get an announcement about the indoor practice facility. I've been saying like every episode on purpose. So our administration is hearing me loud and clear. That's the elephant in the room. We need an indoor practice facility. And I mean, what are you waiting for? I don't understand that. I love those guys dearly, but now is the time to make the announcement for the indoor practice facility. And I think it'll be the Kevin Monroe indoor practice facility.
Right. Well, I tell you what, the Town Bake Tower, a lot of money got sunk into that bad boy. And listen, I benefit from it. I'm up there every other week, and I enjoy the digs. But there's a ton of money into that, and you get a year or two into that, and COVID hits, and all of a sudden you start losing all these dollars. So I think that's put a pause on some things. But you're right, having an indoor facility, and the funny thing about that is when I went on my unofficial visit to NC State, 20 plus years ago now, 1995. The thing I remembered most was how cool NC State's indoor facility was. That's 20 some odd years ago. And so, you got to have that stuff for recruits to impress them, because everywhere else they're going, they've got it. I mean, Marshall has an indoor facility. And you got to be able to keep up with schools like that.
Coastal is building an indoor facility.
Yeah. So that's the baseline. And you're talking about having a winning season. That's baseline, right? Winning 6 games is baseline. Like we have to win six games when we wake up in the morning, and then we see where we can go from there. Can we get to 7? Can we get to 8? Can we get to 9? Depending on how good the team is. But there should be no more seasons where we're not winning at least 6 games.
No, and I believe, one scary thing to me, if we pull this upset off Friday against Cincinnati, and we're sitting here 8-4, and if we beat Cincinnati, we're going to be top story in all of sports that day. That'll be the top story on SportsCenter and everything else. And one scary thing to me about that is suddenly now does Mike Houston become a serious candidate for Virginia Tech if we beat Cincinnati Friday. And I know that sounds silly, one game making a difference in a coach being a candidate for a job or not, but man, people like sexy. And if we beat Cincy, all of a sudden Mike Houston kind of becomes a sexy name. I would hate to see that right now with him just turning this thing around. And it would be really bad timing. And they got a lot of other people on their list ahead of him. But the point of saying this is, I believe if Mike's here for a couple more years, with the way he's building this thing, I think we can go on a really special run. The likes of which Skip had a nice run, Ruffin had a nice run. I think we could go on a dominant type run as young as this football team is.
I don't know Coach Houston that well. Obviously I traveled with the team and I've, interviewed him and spoken to him, but we're not buddies. I was a lot closer to Ruffin and Scotty, and I hope you get a lot closer to Coach Houston, but I'm just not there yet. But I can't imagine that he'd put up one season of 7 or 8 wins and then leaves. He strikes me as the type of guy that wants to build a program, and he came to us and we were at rock bottom, and it's not built yet. It's turned around, but it's not built. And so I'd be surprised if he left for the big dollars now. I do think we get a few more years out of him, and I agree. I think if we do and we continue to recruit the way we're recruiting, and we play ball the way we play ball defensively, God Almighty, Blake Harrell. I mean, you should pray for him every night and go to sleep. This defense was so bad when he got here. We continue to play defense like we're playing. I think we can win games for a long time.
And guys,
that's another thing too. I was going to piggyback off that, Dave. Okay. Blake Harrell is another thing, and that may be a more serious thing. I could see Blake getting a lot of phone calls from ACC and SEC schools about coming over as defensive coordinator. Though him and Coach Houston's relationship goes back to same hometown. So hopefully he'll stick around for a while too. But his defense and the way we blitz, some of his blitz schemes are just so impressive and creative that it is definitely going to catch some people's eyes.
No
There's
doubt.
no question. I love watching this defense play, and we have good players, but it's all about scheme. If the scheme is no good, okay, how good your players are, you're not going to make plays. And so that's having good players and having a great scheme makes all the difference in the world.
One of the ultimate question for me, Kevin, you talk about Houston and you're talking about Blake Harrell, but the elephant in the room right now, I don't think it's been a distraction this week, is will Holton Ahlers be our quarterback next year?
So I think the bigger question is, will the backup hang around if Holton comes back? Because that's what everybody's really concerned about. If you really ask people if they'd love to have Holton Ahlers one more year, I think 100% of the people would say yes, as long as Mason Garcia would be the quarterback for the next 2 years after that. But if you ask people if Holton stays and Mason Garcia transfers, then that, all of a sudden people's opinion of Holton Ahlers changes.
Not mine.
So that's the question. I wouldn't blame Mason Garcia. I mean, you don't get 4-star quarterbacks that sit 3 years. That just doesn't happen anymore. And so that's the elephant in the room, I think. Has Holton Ahlers the last 4 weeks at a minimum shown he deserves to be the starter? Absolutely. No question. But I'm just telling you guys, gone are the days where good players sit on the bench and wait their time. They just don't do it anymore.
Yeah, I hear Mason has trouble making reads. He's incredibly athletic, but he has a lot of trouble making reads. And I know he's got a cannon. I know what he did in high school, and I hope Mason Garcia sticks around. But look, with what we got coming back next year and what Holton has proven he can be, and NC State coming in here to open the season next year, I really believe we can compete for a conference championship next year. Hell, we almost did it this year. And I'd really like to see Holton stick around, and I would like to see Mason stick around. But, the thing about that transfer portal, it works both ways. And if Mason transfers out, somebody else will transfer in. There's always a quarterback, particularly at the Power 5 level. Alabama signs 15,000 4-star quarterbacks, and they can only start one of them. So there's always another 4-star quarterback out there looking for a home. And so the transfer portal works both ways. Hope Mason sticks around, but I personally am not willing to sacrifice Holton Ahlers with the way he's playing right now for an unproven commodity. And I know I don't make the decisions, but I hope Holton stays, and I hope Pirate fans really start to appreciate him because, he loves this place and he's loved it his whole life. And he's finally starting to consistently be what we've seen flashes of. And God, I'd love to see him just tear it up next year and lead us to a conference championship.
Well, let me go back to your point, though, about potentially Mason Garcia having an issue with reading defenses. The one thing that everybody loved about Steve Logan was you always knew what the backup could do because every backup played. When Marcus Crandall was a quarterback, Danny Gonzalez got out there. When Dave Garrard was quarterback, Richard Austin got out there. So on and so forth. You always saw the backup play a series or two in almost every game because he would get that young guy ready. I'm not saying that's the coach's job to get the backup out there if he feels good with the starter. But if you're going to take a guy's red shirt, make sure he gets some snaps. Because if my red shirt's gone because I've played in 5 games, but I'm never playing, I'm just not happy. And so I can't learn to read defenses on the sideline. So you may be 100% right, but get the guy out there every now and then, sprinkle him out there, let him throw the ball around in games that maybe you're under control or it's early in the game and you're not hurting anything. That's what people want to see. And if people were seeing that, then they wouldn't be chirping so much.
No question about it. And he's got Mason is definitely a great player. I know that Houston said in the past that he had a couple of years ago, he had 6 straight years, meaning with Holton and Mason, that we had a lot of 2 great quarterbacks. So my thinking is, I think that Holton has December 6th is when he has to sign up for spring classes, is what I'm hearing. So we probably will know definitely then, or so.
But to something else I'll point out, and Bubba, you can chime in on this also. A kid from Tennessee came in here and visited back in October from the transfer portal. If Holton leaves, we're planning on bringing in an experienced quarterback from the transfer portal. So Mason's not guaranteed to start even if Holton leaves. So I wouldn't sacrifice my nose to spite my face.
Well, I'll say this. Over the last several years, we've gotten a lot of transfers from Tennessee, Notre Dame, Auburn. Name me more than a couple guys that have worked out.
Clemson.
That have gotten on the field and have been dogs, have been players. There ain't been very many. So, transfer portal sounds great, and maybe we'll bring somebody in. But if he's a really good quarterback, he's probably not leaving the school he's at.
No doubt about it. We'll see what happens, but that's something to me that's been bothering me more than not that Coach Houston couldn't leave, not that Blake Harrell couldn't get a job, but I want to see. I'm a huge fan of Holton Ahlers. I think that if it wasn't for the fact he's from Greenville, this is speculation on my part because I'm not Holton Ahlers, but I think that kid, if he was from anywhere else, he would have left a couple of years ago with all the grief he's taken. He's taken way too much, and I am hard on my fan base because he deserves a lot better. And I'm so happy. I've been rooting hard for him, even harder, and for this team harder because I'm sick and tired of all the negativity around our program. We're like, I know Bubba said behind the scenes here, we're 7-4. What do you need from, we have a different athletic director now. We have, thank God we have a great chancellor now. We've rightened the ship. What else do you need for Friday afternoon? Unless you're Keith, like where he has a bowl game of big proportions where he's a coach. What else why would you miss Friday's game?
Last thing about Holton is this. I don't think, and at least not people I've talked to, I don't think anybody doubts his ability, right? The thing that people doubted about Holton was his decision-making. And, I watched that kid as a redshirt freshman run around the field and beat Carolina, and it was the most fun thing to watch. And all of a sudden this year he came into the season and he wouldn't run the ball. He was throwing into double coverage, taking sacks. I mean, he had been sacked 26, 27 times through like the first 6 games. And it was like, well, why won't you? And it was almost like he was trying to prove to us that he was a throwing quarterback. Well, that's fine, but so is Josh Allen and quarterbacks in the NFL that still run the ball. And so over these last several weeks, we've seen him get back to who he was, that kind of backyard quarterback who, like I said about Desmond Ritter, if everything breaks down, I'm going to take off and I'll get 15 yards. I mean, you saw he ran over that kid at Memphis. That kid at Memphis had no idea what he was running up against as he went barreling downhill at him.
David Garardish.
Yeah, this Holton Ahlers right here can play as long as he wants to play. That's all people were worried about was decision making and consistency, not about his ability.
What do you think changed? So what do you think clicked in his head that made him? To me, when I saw the there was flashes earlier in the year. Tulane, Marshall, on the road the second half against Houston. But to me, when I saw it consistently change was the second half against South Florida on that Thursday night. To me, that's when I saw the light switch flip on and stay on.
Well, I think he probably had a come to Jesus meeting with his head coach because his head coach is the one catching all the flack. Like, why aren't you playing the young kid? Holton's not playing very consistent right now. He's making a lot of mistakes. And I'm sure he went to him and he was saying, I can't keep saying that I'm playing the best man if you're not playing like the best man. And there was one play where, I forget what game it was, but he scrambled and he could have run for 20 yards and he forced a throw into CJ in the back corner of the end zone.
UCF.
It had to be the most perfect throw ever for him to catch it. And everybody's like, what are you doing? And it was like a 3rd and 3 or something. Like that UCF. Kind of stuff just drives the fan base crazy. And so I texted Morgan Ahlers after the game and I said, that's the best game I've ever seen Holt play after the Navy game. And I want the kid to be successful. I'm a Greenville guy, an East Carolina guy. I want him to be successful. So I don't think anybody's rooting against him. We just want him to do those things. Do what his skill set says he can do. Run the ball when he needs to run it, and make the best decisions. And he's doing that. So I don't know what happened, but it's working now.
Kevin, we have a comment for you here on Facebook Live, but before I get to that, with your experience having played cornerback, obviously it's been well documented the production we've gotten out of Jaquan McMillan. So if you would talk about him, but then also Malik Fleming.
Yeah, so Jaquan McMillan, I think, is easily the best corner we've had in the 2000s, without question, and he's probably going to go down as one of the best we've ever had. He's a ball hawk, and then in this season, unlike any other ones, he's become a big time tackler. I mean, he's a small linebacker out there. He comes up and hits, and he's one of those guys where you double move him, and he still makes a play. He still gets there. He's still in the right position. I just love watching him do his job. He seems like a team guy. He's always getting other guys, ready to go, and I just love watching him play. I wore number 21, and he's making it look a lot better than I made it look. So I love watching him play. Malik Fleming, I think they kind of came in as young guys, and they were kind of, hey, these two young guys, blah blah, and all of a sudden Jaquan McMillan just kind of took off and left them behind as to who was better. But I think Malik Fleming is gaining in confidence, and these guys are still young. They still got years left to play in the program, and so I think he's only going to get better and better. And he's a good tackler as well. He's starting to be better to make plays on footballs. And the thing that drives me the craziest about watching corners play is when they don't find the football when it's in the air, right? It's easy to go out and cover somebody and run next to them. But if you can't be bothered to find the football when it's in the air and make a play on it, I can't deal with you. And so these last year or so, these guys have been a lot better about finding the ball in the air, making plays on it, picking the ball off. Warren Saber, love him back there. He attacks the football. DJ Ford's another one attacks the football. Sean Dorso attacks the football. So we've got DBs back there now that are trying to get interceptions, and it's showing up in the stats. And we haven't always had that.
And B Page chimes in on Facebook saying Kevin Monroe rides jets and limos to the game. He is a legend.
That's my guy, B Page, man. He's something else. No, always talking about how big time I am. I just ignore him most of the time.
It's great that we need to have B Pace on the show sometime. Definitely with us. He loves our show, I know, and talk about a great pirate. I'm a big fan of B Pace. He's from my era. We're about the same age, so think a lot of him and our days at WZMB. So you gotta love B Pace for all the way back to my roots of broadcasting, all the way back to 1995 for sure. Kevin, with this game, I was with Cincinnati's huge, but do you have a feel on, we've had people ask, so I'm going to ask you, do you have a feel on where the Pirates are going to go as far as the bowl game?
I don't. I mean, I keep hearing the Myrtle Beach Bowl. I keep hearing the Military Bowl back there in Annapolis, and I think those two are kind of running, kind of 1-2. My wife wants to go to Hawaii. I don't. It's too long of a flight. So we'll see how it shakes out. I think the Myrtle Beach Bowl, against Coastal Carolina is one that would be exciting. It'd be one that, all the fans would go to. It might be a little bit warmer than Annapolis in December. So that's where I'm leaning, but I have no idea what these bowl folks are thinking.
It sounded to me like listening to the Coach Houston show last night. Gilbert kind of was pinch hitting for Houston, and it sounded to me like the military was the front runner. To me, I also think that there's a possibility, along with Myrtle Beach. I think there may be a possibility you may be you may if things go just right, Kevin, you may wish you were in Annapolis because I kind of got the feeling that Boston's interested in us too. So the Fenway Park Bowl. The good thing about Annapolis and Boston, it would be an ACC opponent, so that's exciting. But and I think Annapolis or Myrtle Beach, either one would be good for Pirate fans. They're both very drivable. And it would be, get big turnouts from Pirate Nation.
I completely agree. I would enjoy either one.
Hey, Kyle, that'll be a long road trip with to Boston.
To Boston? Yeah, I wouldn't be making that one. But
You're not going to go to that one?
yeah, I'm not going to Boston. No, I'll enjoy it on ESPN. But hopefully it'll be Myrtle Beach or Annapolis, and I'll be there.
No question about it. Kevin, with the game, I know you do the keys to the game. Before we let you go, I know you've been generous, man. An hour, I appreciate it so much. What are your keys to the game going into for Cincinnati? How did the Pirates get a win?
I think you keep your offense off the field, and you got to try to move the chain. So the first way you keep your offense off the field is that you have long sustained drives, right? And Keith Stokes alluded to it. We got to get Thunder and Lightning going. Harris and Mitchell. We got to find a way to run the football, and Cincinnati doesn't give up a whole lot on the ground. So whatever schemes that Coach Kirkpatrick is working on this week, they've got to find ways to get those guys open. And Mitchell doesn't need much. He doesn't need much of a hole to get going. And so continue to feed those guys, even when the run's not working. Stick with it until you pop one. So moving the chains will be my first key. You got to take scoring opportunities in the red zone. You got to score touchdowns. You can't take field goals. We almost lost that game a couple weeks ago, messing with field goals. You got to find a way to get touchdowns because this is a Cincinnati team that's scoring 40 points a game, and you got to be able to keep up with them. And then defensively, it's all about Desmond Ritter, right? You got to get upfield and contain him. You can't let him escape to the outside, but you also don't want him escaping up the middle of the pocket and running down the middle of the field. So finding a way to get pressure on him and keeping him in the pocket and make him make mistakes is what the Pirates have to do. So I'm excited about it. I think they can move the chains and go on long drives. They've won time of possession the last 2 games, and that's including Navy, which is nobody beats Navy in time of possession. So if they can move the chains, put pressure on the quarterback and score in the red zone, I think they can pull out a victory.
I'm going to make a bold prediction for this game, and I'd be willing to put money on it. How much? Any of you guys want to take a friendly wager on if we fake a punt at some point in this game? I bet you money we fake a punt.
Something else we haven't seen a pass from Tyler Snead in a while either. I think it'll be kind of like the SMU game last year where we'll pull out some things.
Hey, let's do it.
Every team has a fake punt and a fake field goal, and we've not seen one at all from the Pirates this season. So this will certainly be the time to do it.
Yep, and also obviously there's other reasons I made the fake punt comment.
History, I'm with you.
Yeah,
I got you.
And Kevin, one more comment for you to ignore as we're wrapping this up. B. Pace says if we go to the Fenway Bowl, Monroe will stay at Martha's Vineyard.
I have a home there. Oh boy, B. Pace, that's my guy.
No doubt. Hey Kevin, how can people hear the game on Friday? I know you guys got such a legendary broadcast. Thank you for keeping it alive for me as I was doing the event on stage and nervous, not because of my event that I was getting ready to do karaoke. It was because I was praying to God that Owen Daffer could make a 54-yarder.
Yeah, well, don't leave it up to me to know all the radio stations. I think it's 107.9. I think locally 99 in Raleigh, 99 The Fan. They cover it a lot in the Raleigh area. On the internet you can catch it. So certainly tune in.
Just download the Varsity app and you'll be able to catch the game.
There you go. Since I'm on the radio, my dad, will listen and he'll watch the game on the screen when they're away games and put the earphones in. So I appreciate people that do that. But obviously this is a home game. So if you're going to be in the stadium, put your headphones on, but be in the stadium and be loud.
And our good friend Alan reminds us that 97.5 in Williamston, my hometown, is an affiliate as well. So Johnny Bryant, they've been a good supporter of the Pirates for many, many years, or going all the way back to Pirate Sports Radio Network. Thank you so much, Kevin. We'll let you get some rest and look forward to the call on Friday, my friend. Go Pirates.
Okay, guys. Thanks for having me.
All right, man. Have a good one. All right. Appreciate him very much. Kevin Monroe. Talk about legend, guys. Man, I wish Kevin could still play, but we definitely have a lot of great DBs, and I know up to his caliber now, thankfully. And it's great to have this game on Friday. Are you guys jacked up, or is it only me? I tell you what, it's Tuesday, and I'm ready for the game to be tomorrow. And I'm glad it's not tomorrow, but before those games, it was kind of like, oh, yeah, we got the game coming up on Saturday, whatever. But now I'm so excited that each and every week there's so much drama, so much leading up to the game like we're doing now. And I'm looking forward to Friday at 3:30.
Yeah, I'm too sleepy to be jacked up, but I am looking forward to the game Friday. It's to me, it's a no lose situation. You don't want to get blown out, but if we can go pull off the upset, it'll be a magic moment, one of the biggest moments in Pirate football history. Definitely the biggest moment in recent history. The highest ranked team we would have ever beaten. I'll see you at the 50-yard line kind of thing. Fans storm the field, a good time. If we lose the game, we play well. Oh well, go win the national championship, Cincinnati. We're gonna go get ready for our bowl game. I don't want to see a bunch of Pirate fans with the boo boo face and call in to 12:50 after the game and acting like it was the end of the world if Cincinnati beats us. So that's one thing I will say. If we lose this game, and I'm not saying we're going to, I think we can pull the upset. It will be a tall, tall order, but I think we can. If we lose this game, and I don't think anybody watching the show right now, I have to say this too, but the Captain Bills of the world, Captain Bill, Captain Bill, the Captain Bills of the world, please don't act like an idiot if we lose to Cincinnati on Friday, because they are an elite team.
No
Matt,
doubt.
Matt owes Kevin Monroe. Matt owes Kevin Monroe
Speaking of
some money, and Matt owes Kevin Monroe some money, so he had to wait until he was gone before he'd show up.
Well, Kevin was doing such a good job, guys. I figured I'd not interrupt the great conversation there. So, but I enjoyed listening to that. I thought Kevin made some great points, and he reiterated a lot of what we've been talking about, with Holton Ahlers, in the last few weeks, how he's now running the football and just looks so much more effective. So I enjoyed that conversation, guys.
Hey, Matt, I had a question for you, piggyback off of that. We're talking about how great Ritter is, and you talk about the teams that they take something of yours and they make it their own. How great would it be if we see a dynamic, incredible performance by Holton Ahlers, which could be his last game, we don't know, and he takes what Ritter does.
He'll play the bowl game.
Well, I know. I meant the last game at Dowdy Ficklen's what I meant to say, but having him have not that you want him to try to do too much, but at the same time, this could, make this like this could be the last game you ever play. I'm saying that generically, I'm not talking about Dowdy Ficklen, but put everything on the line for this game, because I think the fan base, I think people are going to show up. I really do, even more than we're doing that. I think we've got a lot going for the team is playing with a chip on their shoulder. Nobody's giving East Carolina a chance to win outside of our fan base. Maybe some writers we've seen to say this is a dangerous game for Cincinnati, but what do we have to lose in this game?
We have nothing to lose at all. We're playing with house money. Like Kyle said, if we lose this game to Cincinnati, it's not the end of the world. It's really not. The team's done a great job to this point. What I really want to see more than anything, listen, don't get me wrong. I want to win this game, and I think we can win this game. We're going to have to play really good football, but I want to see the team come out and be ultra, ultra competitive and push Cincinnati to the brink. That would be a great sign. So I think, you never know. Anything can happen on any given Saturday. So if we come out with emotion, if we come out sky high and execute, stranger things have happened, fellas.
Hey, Matt, another thing is your coach, you triggered a memory for me, being behind the scenes doing a radio show. Coach Logan used to always talk about getting a game to the fourth quarter. I don't know if he talked to you guys as players. Get the game to the fourth quarter, and then that'll give us a chance to win it. That's what I've been thinking
on the last play of the game.
That's what I've been thinking about the Cincinnati game. And if you think about it, it makes sense with this team, the way they're playing right now. If you look at how many close games we've had, fourth quarter games, and think about that crowd. If we're in that game in the fourth quarter, I was telling a coworker earlier today, if we're in that game in the fourth quarter, imagine that crowd and the pressure that the Bearcats are going to have, knowing that their season, as far as going to the playoff, making history, being the first Group of 5 school to make the playoff, could be over. Just think about that scenario.
Yeah, I totally agree with you, and I kind of liken it to the whole when you watch March Madness, and you see, let's say Villanova's a 1 seed and they're playing, I don't know, I'm just throwing names out there.
Bethune-Cookman.
Bethune-Cookman. Thank you, Kyle. That's a perfect one. And all of a sudden you get into the third quarter and Bethune-Cookman's up 2. And now everybody around the country starts calling and texting each other, hey, man, put on the Bethune-Cookman game. Same type of thing here. If we can push them into the second half and have a lead or, be at a point where the game is equal, all the pressure goes to Cincinnati. They start thinking about their college football playoff scenario. They start thinking about dropping in the rankings. All the pressure shifts. So our guys should really feel no pressure. Just go out, play fast, play loose, play fired up, and let it all hang out. So I agree 100%, Dave. Yeah.
Here's a crazy thought for you guys. And of course I want to beat Cincinnati, but if we lose to Cincy, this is just thought I just said about Cincinnati. If we lose to Cincy, then somehow Cincinnati loses to Houston in the conference championship game, they go from making the playoffs to probably not even getting the New Year's Six game, because you got to win the conference championship to get the Group of 5 spot in the New Year's Six. So unless they got an at-large, they would go from being in the college football playoff to like the Military Bowl. Think about that for a minute.
That's sobering, man. That's sobering. Takes cements it with his rum and throw it out the window there, man. My gosh, that's really actually, for their vantage point, it's really sad. If you think about going undefeated, 12-0, beat the Pirates, you go and Houston. The thing about Houston is, like, Kyle, you're exactly right when you talked about how you think that it's a better matchup as far as a more competitive game with East Carolina. But when you get that conference championship, you never know, man. You never know what's going to happen. But we don't have to worry about the conference championship. We're worried about Friday at 3:30. Inquiring minds want to know. I'm putting you on the spot. Are you coming? Are you going to be with us, Matt? Are you going to be tailgating with us on Friday?
It is not looking great, fellas. It's not looking good. It's the flights were sort of astronomical, and then the times that were available were really tough.
You got the cash, Matt.
I got cash.
You and Kevin Monroe have more cash.
You got the cash, Matt. I mean, you just put a pause on the pool.
Cash money, huh? Yeah, but that's where all the cash is right now.
Well, don't worry. The business will come through with the bonus. It won't be a membership of the Jelly of the Month Club.
I'm like Chevy Chase right now in Christmas Vacation, putting in this pool.
Better hope you get the bonus.
No, it's what, guys. I am dying to get down there. There's some logistical things. Still a possibility. So I'll never say never, but it's looking a little bleak right now. So you guys can give me, you guys can rip me if you want.
Let me ask you a question.
Do we have more of a chance? Tickets though, so I feel good about that.
Thank you for doing that. What do you think? Is there more of a chance for East Carolina to beat Cincinnati, or for you to come to the game?
Man, I think it's about 50-50. I mean, that's a tough one. But I'll always say we're gonna have a chance to win this game. So I think we can pull it off, guys. I'm sticking to it. So let's see what happens.
All right, Bubba, I know you have a graphic about the series you want to put up.
Yeah, speaking of playing Cincinnati, Matt, you obviously played the Bearcats 3 times, I guess it was, 95, 97, and 98. But before we discuss that a little, taking a look at this series all time, this will be the 25th matchup between the Pirates and Bearcats in a series that dates back to 1986. East Carolina won that first matchup 32-19 at what was then Ficklin Stadium. And East Carolina won 12 out of the first 14. But Cincinnati has really dominated the series of late, as a lot of people have against the Pirates. And they've won 3 straight and 9 of the last 10. And the last East Carolina victory, oddly enough, came in I guess it's 2017 at Dowdy Ficklen Stadium when the Pirates won 48-20 in Scotty Montgomery's second year. But there you see the Bearcats are 4-8 all time in Greenville, and East Carolina is 5-7 all time at Nippert Stadium, or I guess not technically not Nippert Stadium, in Cincinnati. One of those games was played at Paul Brown Stadium in 2014. But now a very close series, and hopefully the Pirates will find a way to get win number 14 against Cincinnati on Friday afternoon.
Does anybody know what the hell a Bearcat is?
It's a fictional creature. It's a cross between a Wolverine and a bear.
Are you being serious, or are you just saying that?
I'm just saying that. I have no idea.
Okay, all right. So anybody, is it just another name for a mountain lion or a wildcat? I mean, what the hell's a Bearcat?
Hey, Matt. You normally would say you can't BS a BS artist. You just did that to Kyle.
Exactly. Kyle was very confused for a second.
I was for a second. I was like, that didn't sound right, but maybe he knows something.
Excellent.
Very convincing. You're a great poker player.
Excellent poker face.
Yes.
Player
If anybody can type in their Google machine what's a Bearcat and type it below, we would appreciate it. Bubba, if you got time to Google it, because I'd love to know what the hell a Bearcat is. My dad used to always talk about a wampus cat, and one day he told me what a wampus cat was, and I still don't know if that's right. But what a Bearcat is who knows? There's a couple of wrestlers that use the name Bearcat Brown, a couple other guys. But anyway, it's neither here nor there. But anybody, what the hell's a Bearcat?
That's a good question. Hopefully, we don't find out on Friday afternoon where they eat us alive. That's what I'm hoping for. By the way, speaking of Cincinnati, still to come, we have a great interview with Chad Brendel from the Bearcat Journal. Maybe we need to ask, can you text Chad? Maybe he can tell us what a Bearcat is.
I mean, somebody can Google it. Guys, I'm gonna drop out of here pretty soon. Do we have anything that needs to be discussed? Any special Thanksgiving topics? Any knowledge I need to impart upon Pirate Nation before I go?
What your favorite Thanksgiving dish?
My favorite Thanksgiving dish, man. It's hard for me to choose just one, being a fat boy. That's really a tough question. I'll probably go with a sweet potato casserole, but green bean casserole would be right in there. Collard greens would be in there. Homemade mac and cheese, dressing, and then pretty much just the whole dessert table. Anything from pecan pie to pumpkin pie. I think we just had this discussion the other night.
We talked about that, yeah.
Yeah, okay. Well, I like everything. Pretty much all of it, except not big on beets. That's really a Thanksgiving thing. I just felt like throwing that out. Beets suck.
Now, Kyle, before you sign off, one of the things I wanted to bring up very quickly is because I know this is a game that we've talked about and you had your thoughts on it. But Matt was a senior that year, so 1998 Pirates go 6-5. We had just had a very tough loss at home to Houston, a game where we missed some extra points, maybe had some red zone issues, but a game really felt like you should have won against the Cougars, and then had to go to Nippert Stadium on a short week on a Thursday night. And Cincinnati was very bad that year, record-wise at least, and gave us everything we wanted and then some. And that was the game. Remember, the Cincinnati quarterback was in the shotgun, and the center snapped it up to his butt, and we recovered and ended up winning the game by 3 points, and had a touchdown on that drive where we had the short field. But do you remember that game, Matt? It was really cold, late season, and Kyle was just talking about it as kind of being one of those games where you're probably coming off a little bit of a Houston hangover.
Thursday night, ESPN 2.
I do remember that game, and this was at Nippert, correct?
Correct.
This was the game at Nippert. Yes, I do remember that game. For me, like personally, I remember the '97 game a lot more because in pregame warmups there was a fight at midfield between our players and Cincinnati's players.
Yeah, that was in Greenville late season.
That was that was the last.
That was
game
also
of
a
the
Thursday night in the rain, and then
Yeah.
Yep.
Pirates won that one to get to 5-5, and then unfortunately lost the season finale at NC State as we were playing for the winning season.
97. Yep.
But that game, that 97 game, you remember a very memorable name. Was it Tinker Keck, the wide receiver / return man for Cincinnati? Just
it sounds familiar, boy. That's going back. Yeah, Bubba, you have a great recall for these.
That was
names.
just one of those names that kind of just stuck in my head.
Bubba remembers everything.
Was that also? Was that who was the quarter? Was that pre-Gaduli or was that Gino Gaduli?
In 97, I believe. That's a good question. Was that? I believe that was pre-Gino.
I believe it was too.
So. Yeah,
I believe it was too.
I think Gino was more like early 2000s.
Yeah, I think Gino was like 99 through like 01 maybe.
Yeah.
Or maybe 02, something like that.
One more memory I'll share with you guys. The one before that, the 95 game at Nippert.
Oh, yeah.
Cincinnati really wasn't a very good team at that point, and certainly not the Cincinnati we know today. And I just remember that stadium was like borderline empty at that point when we played there, and not a big crowd at all. But it was a very, very it's a really cool college stadium that I've actually recommended to quite a few people because it's sunk down almost in a bowl. It's almost below ground the way it's designed, and it's a very cool, different sort of unique stadium to play in. But I do remember that night it was very, very empty, and we put it on pretty good that night.
No, in 95, Cincinnati beat y'all.
And B. Page brought up that 95 game saying that he traveled with the team and Jeff Blake came to the hotel and did a pregame speech, and that he ended up playing with Emory Blake, who went on to play at Auburn on the field after the game. B. Page was throwing the ball around with Emory Blake, and Pirates lost 13-10 that night.
Yep.
But we went.
But in Matt's mind, we put it on them.
We went 3-3, but then won our final 6 to finish 9-3, and that was the last season the Pirates finished their year ranked with I think number 23 in the USA Today Coaches Poll.
That is correct. After the Liberty Bowl win against Stanford, we lost that game, Matt.
boy, I'm getting my games mixed up. It's been a long time. I'm gonna have to go back and look.
I don't know what game you're thinking of because 95 we lost up there, 97 we won here, 98 we barely won up there. And you graduated in 98, right?
I graduated in 97.
Okay. I think you're just getting the Cincinnati game mixed up with another team.
I could be.
Because but you're right about their stadium, and since you like those stadiums that are kind of dug out like bowls, you should be really fired up for your first trip to Charlotte to watch the Pirates play the 49ers because they kind of dug a hole in the ground and built a stadium. So what's their stadium called? It's the guy that's on the Panthers.
Jerry Richardson.
Yeah, Jerry Richardson Stadium. Yeah. There you go.
The thing that's going to be cool about that, though, is that's going to be like Dowdy Ficklin West because what does it seat, Bubba? 15,000, 20,000? It'll be all Pirate fans.
15,
so that'll be
and
cool.
They better expand.
Well, it could be all Pirate fans. It'd probably end up about like it was for App State and Charlotte, where I don't know if it was half and half, but they brought in some temporary seating, some PGA-style bleachers, and expanded it from 15 to I want to say 18 or 19, but yeah, that would be a tight ticket.
It should be a requirement for them to join our conference that they at least have to expand that stadium to 20,000. All right, guys, I'm out of here.
Hey, one final thing.
Sure.
One final thing before you go. Let's go ahead and do our predictions right now. We normally do it, but we got another guest coming up. But let's do the predictions before you go. Who you got? Who you like?
I'm gonna be honest
here, Matt. You hear that? He's trying to get out of here without doing a prediction.
I'm gonna be I always. My name's not Bubba. I always do predictions, but I'm gonna be honest. I'm gonna take Cincinnati and hope I'm wrong, and be glad to be wrong. But I'm going to take Cincinnati. I'm going to say we don't get embarrassed, but we get beat. I'm going to say Cincinnati 31, East Carolina 20.
Well, guys, I'm going for my Pirates. I'm going 31-27 Pirates. That's what I'm going to say.
I like it. I like it. Dave's always optimistic. Always optimistic. I like it.
Not always, but I have a feeling about this team. Normally it was the other way, and I'm going for maybe from pendulum, like from one to the other. November to remember, and we put it on the Bearcats since nobody believes in our team nationally. We believe in our team, and they better come ready Friday. I will just say that.
No doubt about it. No doubt about it. I'm going to say, it pains me to say it, I'm going to say 35-24 Bearcats. I think we come out ready to play. We jump out to an early lead, and but eventually I think they just kind of wear us down up front and get a lot of pressure. That's my biggest concern, is the pressure that they're going to bring on Holt Nailers. So hopefully I'm wrong, but that's the way I see it playing out, guys.
And Bubba.
I'm afraid that Kyle and Matt will probably be right. I think that we quite possibly, lose a 4-quarter ball game. But the thing that concerns me is just with Cincinnati's defense, and we've been kind of banged up on the offensive line. So yes, the offensive line has been playing relatively well and protecting Holton better than they had been. But we also haven't been playing Cincinnati's defense. So last year, Holton really struggled to have time to throw against the Bearcats, and last year they were really taking away the passing game. And we did have some success, about close to 200 yards on the ground. Some of that was after the issue was decided, but we're really going to have to find a way to run the football, and then generate what we can through the air, especially like we were talking about earlier with Chad Brendel. He said if when they haven't talked
to him yet.
Yeah, when we were recording that interview, we're just having some issues. And the shorter routes, like we like to throw to Snead with the slants and so forth. And also he did say they had some issues with opposing tight ends. So Ryan Jones, 32 catches for, and also 5 touchdowns now. So maybe Ryan can have a solid outing, and we can put ourselves in a position to win it late with what will hopefully be a very rowdy crowd.
I think if we're going to win this game, I think we're going to have to force a couple turnovers. Cincinnati's going to have to come out, not focus 100%. We're going to have to play out of our minds on defense.
Yeah.
If we're going to win this game, I think we win at 23-20. I think otherwise we have no chance.
If we're not at least +2 in turnovers, I'll be very surprised if we win the ball game if we're not +2 in turnovers.
Yep.
Yeah.
Well,
I agree with that.
All right. Good night, sweetheart.
All right, guys. All right. Well, you guys enjoy the rest of the show, and Dave, don't call me sweetheart, and go Pirates.
Later, Kyle.
I had to say that. I couldn't. I mean, like, come on, you're jumping out. I mean, who in their right mind? We're going to be playing a huge game on Friday, guys. By the way, Matt, I went on a limb. I have my 4 regular seats. I have 8 seats I bought. 4 we're going to give away. We'll be talking about that, right, Bubba? Or you want to go ahead and talk about it now or at the end of the show? We're giving away 4 seats for Friday. I want people there. I'm not one of these guys that comes on and talks and runs in my mouth. As a group, we're giving away 4 seats to the game. So I don't want to hear people give an excuse why they can't come to the game. You need to show up on Friday. Let's get loud. Start drinking about 7 a.m. It's fine with me. So by 3:30, you'll be nice and ready. Lots of rum, says Matt Semenza.
Absolutely, fellas. I love it. I totally agree. Man, I hope it's rowdy, guys. I hope I hope we are able to get 40,000 in there. I got to give credit. I think we did some really good promotions this week. I would have liked to see those. I don't know the whole reasons behind it, but would have liked to see those extended for a few more days. But maybe there were reasons for that. But man, there were some great promotions. So I think we did a good job trying to maximize it. But I just say, be loud, be proud. We need to make this as tough an environment as possible for Cincinnati. So I personally can't wait to see it.
Yeah, we normally have about 10,000 students in attendance, sometimes more, sometimes a little bit less. But, if you can get this week under these circumstances, if you can get 1,500 to 2,000 of those, hopefully it'll be more than that. But if you can get that back and just have them bring, the boyfriend or girlfriend with them, the friend, just parent or a couple parents, because they have those 4 preloaded guest tickets for free uploaded onto their account. So, hey, if you could see 1,500 turn into 5,000 pretty quickly. So hopefully that will be the case. I think we've sold 4,000 or so of the Purple Friday or Painted Purple Friday, whatever they were calling that promotion, with the $60 and $80 packages. And in addition to giving away at least 4 football tickets, maybe more, we will be giving away some men's basketball tickets as well as some women's basketball tickets.
No doubt. And we're gonna be, if Semenza, maybe I could get you on FaceTime, but we'll be tailgating right near the practice field is where our spot is for the sports objective. We're gonna have a lot of fun. We want everybody to come out. And like I said, we can do our part. We can't control what happens on the field, but you can't tell me that the refs won't be shaken by it, like a whole bunch of people screaming at him. Ritter, he's great, but those guys, like I said, I really, really believe this is going to be a tighter game than what most people think. I think that our team is – this is the thing that people aren't thinking about. Kevin Monroe talked about earlier in our show. This isn't the team from a month ago, okay? This team is playing with a lot of confidence, playing with a swagger and the chip on the shoulder like you guys had in the 90s, the Giant Killers. And there's just something about this team that I really, really have liked all season long. But, we saw some flashes of it early in the season. But now this team is a well-oiled machine. And I tell you what's great, guys. We're talking about win, lose, whatever. Next year for this team, Cincinnati's got 30-some seniors. All right? We don't have that many seniors. These guys are so young, and the future is bright for this program. I really believe Houston would be crazy to leave to go to Virginia Tech. That place is a dumpster fire. A dumpster fire. Don't tell me $4 million. Yeah, basically you're starting all over again. And those folks it's a beautiful campus. I have a lot of respect for them in a lot of ways, but their expectations are way too high considering where they are right now. This is not Michael Vick 99, 2000 Virginia Tech, and they need to get that in their mind. Great that you had that run, but right now with the ACC, with all the schools that are in the ACC, and I mean, Justin Fuente is a great coach, but their expectation is way too high. Florida's got the similar situation going on too. Don't want to get off on too much of a tangent, but Mike Houston, we hope you come back next year. I think he will be back next year. And guys, I'm telling you what, how great will this show be? We can talk about, like I said, next year or year 5 under Houston, when we're going to what we thought used to be a pipe dream. A New Year's Six Bowl is in our car. That's in our future, man. I'm telling you, with Houston, this is not the end of Houston. This is only the beginning.
I certainly hope so, because the job isn't finished yet. And to leave it at this point, regardless of what happens on Friday, regardless of what happens, the job isn't finished yet. And I think it would be premature. I think this is my own personal feeling. I think Mike Houston will want to see this through. I see him here for at least, a few more years. And then from there, you never know what happens. You just never know. So money always talks. At the end of the day, money always talks. But I just don't think it's time for Coach Houston to leave quite yet.
And Bubba, I know you did some research, which you always do. You're the best, our numbers guy. When you did on Cincinnati, Kyle is asking, what is a Bearcat? So, Bubba Rosenbaum, I'm going to throw it to you. I'm fired up. I'm pumped up with this team. What is a Bearcat?
All right, this is from GoBearcats.com. It says the University of Cincinnati Bearcats were born on October 31st, 1914. The occasion was a football game with the University of Kentucky Wildcats. A star UC player named Bayer, Baehr, a creative cheerleader and a talented cartoonist. During the second half of that hard-fought football game against UK, UC cheerleader Norman Lyon, building on the efforts of fullback Leonard Bayer, created the chant, "They may be Wildcats, but we have a Bearcat on our side." The crowd took up the cry, "Come on, Bearcat!" Cincinnati prevailed, 14-7, and the victory was memorialized in a cartoon published on the front page of the student newspaper, the Weekly University News, on November 3rd. The cartoon by John Reese depicted a bedraggled Kentucky Wildcat being chased by a creature labeled Cincinnati Bearcats. The name stuck, but not immediately. Following Teddy Bear's graduation in 1916, the name dropped out of use, at least in print, for a few years. And then on November 15th of 1919, Cincinnati played at Tennessee. Cincinnati Enquirer writer Jack Ryder's dispatch on the game was the first time that the major media called UC's team Bearcats. From then on, the university's teams were regularly called Bearcats.
There you go. So, inquiring minds want to know, you think that you won't learn anything on our show? Are you kidding me? From start to finish, you're going to be learning something. It may not be great, but you'll be learning something for sure.
I'm disappointed Bubba didn't know the year that took place, just off the top of it.
Yeah, I know. It was funny, Matt, because I definitely did not recall the year, but as soon as I started reading it, I remembered here in the last few years, because I was asking myself the same question, whether it was a fictional creature or not. And I went to the UC website, and I'd read that before because the teddy bear came back to me.
There you go. Well, I'm glad. That's why we have Bubba. We don't have to worry about all the facts in the past, and we don't have to worry about numbers. You just throw it to Bubba, and he knows it. So, Matt, with what are your keys to the game? We didn't ask you that, and I know we have Chad coming up here in a second. But what are your keys to the game before we let you go?
Yeah, so I was kind of thinking about that. Like, normally every week I try to come up with some schematic type keys that I think would really benefit the Pirates. This week I'm kind of keeping it very simple. I think we need to play incredibly physical. We need to play in out of our mind physical on both fronts. We need to fly around on defense. Whatever emotional level that they're at, we need to top it. And I think that's a huge key. In this type of game, you get late in the season, it's going to be a little chilly. Sometimes it comes down to which team wants it more.
Right. That's what I was going to mention.
Yeah. And I think, when I look at this game, I just, not even talking like scheme and different things. I think we need to be the more physical team. We need to be the more emotional team, and we need to play a clean game. So no dumb penalties, no turnovers, that type of thing. And then we're going to need to do something. Exactly. We're going to need to make some kind of a play to change the game. Maybe. And when I say some kind of a play, I mean, maybe something big on special teams. Maybe a pick six. We're going to need to have some big play to sort of change the flow of the game. So I think that's what I'm looking for more than anything, guys.
Sounds good. And I tell you what, we're going to have a lot of fun Friday. I hope you can somehow surprise us. That's the Matt Semenza way. I tell you what's going to happen. What's going to happen, you're going to find a flight. You're not going to tell us, and all of a sudden you're going to walk up to us. You know where my tailgate spot is. What's up, fellas? And you go scare me half to death because I'm thinking, he's not going to be there.
That
you really, awesome. And then I see you right now. Do you really think I would miss this game, Dave? So
I might just have to drive it. It's a nice 13-hour drive, but logistically, that might be the best way. It's more the logistical aspect. There's just no easy way to get there on the holiday. So we'll see, man. We'll see.
I can see it right now. Planes, trains, and automobiles.
Matt, if
Like
you
John
find a way to
Candy.
get it down, I promise you'll have a free ticket.
Thank you.
We've got tickets for you. No question about it. If you come down, we got you. We got you covered on that. No doubt about it. Anything before we go and we go to Chad?
No, just really look forward to seeing how Pirate Nation is going to show up on Friday, and I know after this interview with Chad Brendel, we'll come back and wrap it up.
All right, do you want to stay with us, Matt?
Yeah, I'll hang around, guys. I wanted to listen to what Chad had to say, so yeah,
okay.
No problem.
All right, earlier we had a chance to talk to Chad Brendel, right, Bubba? Well, I guess he's getting the interview ready, but Chad had to record the interview earlier than normally we have because of he had to do a watch party with their basketball team. And Bubba, let's go to that interview with Chad from 24/7. We'll do that right now. I believe there might be a big football game on Friday, guys, in Greenville. And with us right now, there's one of our all-time favorites going all the way back to 2018, Bubba, the first year of our show.
Absolutely, Dave. Anytime the Pirates and Bearcats get together on the gridiron or on the hardwood, we have this guy on the program. Welcome back from Bearcat Journal, Chad Brendel. Chad, how are you?
Doing great. It's an interesting time to be a Bearcat right now. There's a lot going on for sure.
No question. I think you guys have been the model as far as Group of Five. As far as now the breaking news, I don't know if Kyle even knows. Cincinnati's officially in the playoff now at number 4. We were recording another interview, so that was not sports related. So I was not going to go down that path. But when it broke just a little while ago, what are your thoughts on it? Do you see this as? I guess the question I want to ask is, how is the team and the coaching staff handling the pressure of knowing that they might be able to make history here in a couple weeks?
I think it definitely was kind of weighed on them through that middle portion of the season, where they were never in danger really of losing, but they weren't playing to their potential. They weren't playing to the type of team that they had shown through last year and this year. So I think there certainly gets to be a point where, it's all you're hearing about. It's all anybody's talking to you about. Anytime you're on campus, that's what people want to talk to you about, and it occupies a lot of brain space. And it's for 18 to 22-year-olds, it's hard to shut all that out. But I think going in, against USF for a large portion, they played really, really well. And then they kind of had a little lull in the third quarter where USF kind of hung back around a little bit. But ultimately, they found their groove a little bit against USF, and then SMU, they just blew their doors off right from the jump. And that's kind of the team Cincinnati fans have been waiting to see, for a couple weeks now, show back up. So to have that team, reappear, basically, right down the home stretch, I think that is a very encouraging sign if you're looking for Cincinnati to find their way into the playoff.
Chad, one theory I had about that is the last several weeks, you guys or Cincinnati had been playing teams that, in my opinion, they knew they were going to beat. Anybody they lined up against the previous few weeks, they knew they were going to beat, and they were. I don't know that they were worried about style points, but they had to have been. No matter what the coaching staff says, those players had to be thinking about, we need to win convincingly. And when you think about trying to win convincingly, you don't win convincingly. SMU, they knew could beat them. So they just went in there thinking about winning that football game. And what did they do? They won convincingly. And that's, in my opinion, without being close to the program from the outside looking in, what the difference probably was is they just went and played football against SMU because they know SMU was a capable opponent, whereas the previous weeks they were trying to look impressive. That's just a hunch.
Yeah, I mean, I think the way I would word it just a tad different, and that when you feel like you have to be perfect, you're never going to be perfect. And you know, they had, if you look at each of those games, there was a point in each of those games where they had a chance to pull away, and they kind of got conservative. And you know, their defense got a little conservative. They weren't as aggressive on offense. They were maybe just trying to get to the final horn, and that allowed some teams to score some late points on them that the defense doesn't usually give up, and make things look closer than they ultimately were. So yeah, I mean, it's we're saying basically the same thing, just a different wording. That against SMU, there wasn't a feeling like they had to be perfect. There was a feeling of we have to play really well for 4 quarters to win this game. And it turned out they had to play really well for about 4 minutes and 15 seconds. And the game was pretty much over.
And one thing I can say about SMU, and this is not a knock on SMU, it's just the style of football they play. They're a good team, but it's more finesse than physical. Playing them last year, you know, and we weren't the best football team last year, but they were not physical at all. And now East Carolina dominated them. And when I look at Cincinnati, you guys are the definition of physicality. And so I kind of don't like that matchup for SMU at all anyway. And you guys came out laser focused, and that was a bad situation for Cincinnati to be, or excuse me, for SMU to be in.
Yeah, they definitely, especially offensively, they do not like being bullied. And Cincinnati just pushed them around. And when you've got the secondary that this team does, and you can let your front 6, front 7 kind of just fly around and make plays and be physical, SMU kind of goes into their shell. And that's exactly what happened. We saw it last year in Dallas when Cincinnati did almost the exact same thing to them. You talked about noticing it with ECU, and you know, you noticed it again by the middle of the third quarter. By the middle of the second quarter, they wanted to be anywhere but Cincinnati. They were ready to get on the plane and get the heck out of town. So that is something that, you know, those teams that like to put up the style points, if you will, that like to throw it around and be finesse, they're going to have a hard time with the Bearcats more often than not.
Yeah, one of the things that comes to mind is when you were talking about, I've heard the media talk a lot about it, and I was waiting on purpose to ask you tonight. But when they were talking about, you know, like Cincinnati, I've heard a media interview yesterday about it. It's like they're quote unquote struggling, and then all of a sudden SMU, and I was like going, last time I checked, they're 11-0. I think there's most teams in this country, if not 100% of the people, would want to be 11-0 at this point. So yeah, you can see that. But the other good thing about it is, when we're talking about pressure, and they know that obviously the likes of Tulsa, there's certain teams that, you know, that when they're playing, say if they're playing in the playoff or obviously the championship game after us or after East Carolina, they are going to feel pressure, and they'll say, oh, you remember such and such game? It was really tight, and we stopped them at the goal line, or we did this or that. The life experiences inside the season is enough for them to do well, I think, or have a shot in the playoff.
Yeah, I mean, this is a really, really old team. I mean, I don't know if you saw any of the pictures from their senior day, but the senior parents went from the sideline all the way across the field at the 40-yard line, all the way down into the end zone. That's how many senior parents there were. They had 33 players walk. So this is a team that's been through a lot, and they've won a lot of games. I mean, you know, 42-6 over the past 4 years. So, you know, this is a group that knows what it takes to get there. I think that has worked against them a little bit, because I think they are they fully believe like we can turn it on, turn it off whenever we need to, because we've done this so much. But I mean, yeah, that the experiences through the year, the experience of going into Notre Dame and taking Notre Dame's best shot and being able to answer and hold them off for a double-digit win. over what's now, a top 6 team. The cards are just kind of aligned perfectly for this Cincinnati team, and they're almost to the finish line. So it's going to be really interesting to see which version of the Bearcats shows up in Greenville on Friday.
So, what do you gather from the team? I mean, obviously, Coach Fickle you're going to get the same thing from him. He's going to be talking about nothing but East Carolina.
Right.
But I don't know if you've been around the team any, or
yeah.
What do you sense that they're focused on East Carolina? Do they realize that this is a very improved football team? That unlike SMU, East Carolina is a physical football team. Or do you think that they're already looking ahead to the championship game against Houston? Which, by the way, we played Houston, and I've seen Houston play several times. The way you guys get after it on defense, I personally think we're the bigger challenge than Houston, just because of the style of play.
The thing with this team, and again, they're so old that they know not to look ahead. I don't think they were looking ahead at any point, like during that 4-game stretch where they didn't play all the way up to their expectations. I think you just get caught up in a game from time to time. You're in the second half, you're up by 17 points. You're just trying to get the clock run out and get out of town. But no, East Carolina definitely has their attention. They know how that thing ended last year. East Carolina's going to be mad. They're going to play with an attitude. They're going to play with an edge. And they also remember, because almost all of these guys were there, traveling to East Carolina in 2019 and needing a Ahmad Gardner pick 6 and a late field goal to escape with the win. So they're well aware that East Carolina is dangerous, that Holton Ahlers is going to present a very big challenge for them, that this is senior day for East Carolina, so they're going to have an emotional edge about them as they come into this game. I don't think, that's the advantage of having an old team, right? Is they've been through the ups and downs of playing through a season. And East Carolina's right. I don't think a lot of people know this. East Carolina is third, and then your fans know this, obviously. They're third in the American Conference right now. They're right behind Cincinnati and Houston. So this is not a team that Cincinnati can take lightly, and I don't think that they will.
Yeah, I hope you do, or they do. I personally, and I'm going to say this as a Pirate, and I hope I don't make any other Pirate fans mad. I think if we play our best game and Cincinnati plays their best game, Cincinnati's going to win just because of the experience and talent. We're talented, but we're young, and we don't have the depth of talent just yet that Cincinnati does. Right. So we kind of need Cincinnati not to play their best game for us to have a chance. Is everybody healthy for the Bearcats? You guys have a lot of depth anyway. Are there any serious injuries going into this game that maybe we don't know about?
To my knowledge, no. They were pretty clean. They had there's 2 guys that missed SMU that might still be questionable, both dealing with ankle injuries, in Michael Young, the Notre Dame transfer, and then Malik Van, who's one of the starting defensive ends. But Trey Tucker stepped in and had 7 catches for 100+ yards for Michael Young, and Juwan Briggs stepped in for Malik Van. If you don't know who Briggs is, he was a former top 75 recruit that transferred in from Virginia. And Malik Van being out kind of opened the door for him to get some more playing time. So the depth in those 2 spots is pretty good to begin with. So they were able to fill those. Those 2 guys will be, guys to keep an eye on, whether they're going to be ready to go or not for ECU. But other than that, they've been, knock on wood, they've been pretty healthy throughout this season. The normal bumps and bruises and an ankle here and a stinger there, things like that. But they've been able to get to this point pretty clean.
Yeah, and obviously not as big of a deal to Cincinnati, but the Pirate fans at this point in time, 3:30 p.m. on ABC, getting the big stage on ABC, not ESPN, not ESPN2, mid-afternoon game on Black Friday. I personally think if they would have waited a week and known we were going to beat Navy and be sitting here with 7 wins, I think we'd have probably got the 7 p.m. time slot on ABC on Black Friday. Not that it really makes a big difference, but it just would have been kind of cool to be in prime time.
Yeah, I mean, Cincinnati has kind of lived in that. They had early. They were in the noon time slot quite a bit, but as they've built up, they've kind of gotten used to this 3:30 time slot. I know road games. The road team never wants to play a night game, right? Because you're sitting at the hotel all day. It gives you kind of have to maintain focus for a long time after you wake up in the morning. So I know they prefer the 3:30 time slot, and I know exactly why ECU would have preferred 7 o'clock as well.
Yeah, well, I wasn't even talking about it from a crowd standpoint of getting all liquored up and tailgating and all. I just meant from a prestige standpoint of being a prime time. But
that would have been big, but still, ABC at 3:30 is a pretty good time slot too.
Oh, no doubt, the whole world will be watching.
You just have to have a beer at breakfast time, or maybe like start 7 or 8 o'clock.
Mary, mimosa.
Yeah,
there you go. It's 3:30.
Friday night.
3:30. It was a 3:30 kick, not a 12 o'clock kick. You got plenty of time to drink before kickoff. But speaking of drinking and such, what's the travel plans? Obviously, Thanksgiving is Thursday. Is the team going to travel on Wednesday? Are they going to travel on Thursday? What's the plan? Is it Thanksgiving at the hotel? Or are they just going to celebrate when they get back to Cincinnati?
They've played a lot of Black Friday games. A couple of them against East Carolina. I believe the plan is typically they stick to what they do, which is travel the day before. My guess is they'll do some kind of Thanksgiving dinner at the hotel Thursday night. They'll get tomorrow for the local kids to, maybe be with their family for a little bit after practice, potentially, and then get up Thursday morning and do a walkthrough and hop on the plane and get on their business trip.
Way back in 2008, we played a Black Friday game against UTEP, and UTEP flew up and did catering at the hotel and got food poisoning, and were atrocious the next day. So just throwing that out there.
Come on, Kyle. Come on.
One of the subject matters beyond that we probably don't want to talk about, but I wanted to ask you because you're close to the program. With all of the jobs that are open right now, the big coaching jobs, what are the chances that Luke Fickell leaves and takes one of those jobs?
They went down today because I think one of the places UC fans have been rightfully worried about was Penn State. And with James Franklin inking a 10-year, $75 million deal, it looks like that takes him off the market. I know a lot of people point to USC because of, Mike Bone being the athletic director that hired him at Cincinnati. But in terms of cultural fit, Luke Fickell's just not a West Coast, Southern California guy. So I still, it's going to be, the thing that's made this difficult a little bit is once you start seeing the numbers that are being thrown around, you're talking, some of these guys, 75, 80, 90 million dollars, and their name is not Saban. Like, it's crazy to think where this is trending. But at this point, especially if you aren't going to see Penn State open up, I think Cincinnati fans feel pretty good about where things stand. He doesn't seem to be a name that's of heavy interest at LSU, and there's really not anywhere else that's on the market like Virginia Tech. No, he's already at a place that's, playing at a significantly higher level than Virginia Tech. He's going to go to Blacksburg and try to recruit Ohio and compete in the ACC. It just doesn't seem to fit. So right now, I think Cincinnati fans feel pretty good, but who knows with this stuff right now, because it's just getting so hard to get your brain around how much money is flying at these guys. It's crazy.
Yeah, a lot of big time money. You mentioned earlier, as we get back to the game a little bit, your secondary, Cincinnati secondary is elite, probably the best secondary in the country. If you were scouting Cincinnati's defense for another team? If you were a coach for East Carolina, what would you say the best way to attack their defense would be in the passing game if you had to do it?
Run. The really excuse me, weather's got everybody here in Cincinnati a little on the mend. The one thing that we've seen teams have the most success with, and South Florida did this, is if Cincinnati, they'll at times play their field corner off about 7 or 8 yards, so you get a free release. And they'll do it at times with their slot as well, more like 4 or 5 yards off. But we've seen teams go to like crosses and slants, quick slants against the free release to get their guy in somewhat a position of space. That has been effective. There's a couple teams that Notre Dame and Indiana both had some success going to their tight ends, but they both have really high level pass catching tight ends that are a critical part of their offensive game plan. If you're trying to throw it to the boundary at Sauce Gardner, I wish you luck. And we've even seen Kobe Bryant at the field corner has taken his game completely up to a higher level in his super senior season. So throwing the ball outside is quite a challenge, and there hasn't really been anything that anyone has done where they've been able to attack Cincinnati on the outside, on the edges, especially down the field, and have much success with it. I mean, that's been their bread and butter. And everybody talks about Sauce Gardner, like the teams just aren't throwing at him. But if you go back and from what you can see on a lot of the tape, it's not for a lack of wanting to throw at him. A lot of teams, like, they look that way. The guy's just not open. And he's allowing, on average, less than 20 yards a game receiving on the boundary where everybody puts their number one. And what PFF put up today, he's had 1,008 snaps in college in coverage, and he's allowed 0 touchdowns. The kid is just – we talked about this last night on our podcast. There's a possibility that he doesn't have the counting stats, so it'll probably never be considered this way. There's a possibility he's the best player in Cincinnati football history with what he's accomplished in 3 years as a corner.
And he hasn't lost a lot of football games, right?
He's lost 1 game in the past 2 years, and he didn't play in that game. So that people don't like. Sauce didn't play in the Peach Bowl. He was out with back spasms. So what he's lost, I think, 4 games in the past 3 in his 3 years as a Bearcat. 3 games, 4 games, whatever it is, it's really good.
Chad, and go ahead, Bubba.
Final thing for you, Chad, because I know you have to run, but kind of Kyle's question, flip that around, tell us the same things from an offensive perspective. If you were Blake Harrell in the East Carolina defense, how would you attack a veteran quarterback like Desmond Ritter? If there are some chinks in the armor, what would those be?
He's done a much better job this year throwing the deep ball. He still has had some inconsistencies on the intermediate stuff. He can be a little bit high at times, which, if you're does ECU play more man or zone?
What, more man, right, guys?
We play a decent amount of man, and they'll blend the two. But Coach Blake Harrell, just by nature, he brings a lot of pressure.
That's one thing that can be a blessing and a curse, because if you're bringing pressure and Dez finds his way into the open field and there's green grass, he's going to chew up a lot of grass on you. The thing that's been interesting is if you go back to like even 2019, that 2019 game, he didn't have a lot of options. It was run the ball, try to control the clock. Now, he had a big game as they came back against ECU, but there wasn't a lot of talent across the board. He had Alec Pierce, who's a star receiver now, and Josiah DeGuara, who's at with the Packers. Like, those were some guys that were able to take some of the pressure off of Dez early in his career. Now he's got guys everywhere. You know, he's got Alec Pierce on the boundary. He's got Tyler Scott, who was the young man that took the 54-yard touchdown deep on the first play against SMU. You've got good guys in the slot. You've got Leonard Taylor and Josh Wiley at tight end. It's kind of you have to pick your poison if you're defending Cincinnati, and you've got an NFL running back in Jerome Ford as well. So what you need to do to really disrupt this offense is win the point of attack. You need to move the line of scrimmage backwards, you know, and play kind of in Desmond Ritter's face from the middle. If you're going past him on the edges, he's going to get outside on you. But if you're able to get pressure on him from the middle to where he's, you know, not able to get his feet set, not able to get his mechanics right, you can cause him some problems. But they've been really good in the middle of that line of scrimmage. So it's difficult because it's kind of a pick your poison. But I would say the best thing to do, you try to stop Alec Pierce on the boundary, and you try to take away the tight ends as much as possible and say, if the other guys can beat me, they can beat me.
And we certainly know, like you mentioned from that 2019 game, what Desmond Ritter can do with his legs. That game, 46-43 Bearcats victory. Ritter rushed for 121 yards on just 12 carries.
Yeah. He hasn't done it as much this year. I think it's been something where it's been kind of planned, where they didn't want him running as much because they didn't have a kid like Ben Bryant behind him if something happened to Dez. So they haven't run him as much, but he's been selective and he's been effective. I mean, he had a 43-yard touchdown run against SMU. He's broken a couple long ones this year. So you won't see him run as much as you saw early in his career. But if he sees a lane, he's not afraid to take it. So that's just part of what makes him so dangerous and a really, really good college quarterback.
Definitely, it'll be exciting to watch on ABC 3:30. We'll be there. We're going to let you go. Are you going to be there?
No, I'm back here. I've got some radio responsibilities, and the wife's still kind of recovering from everything. She's doing good, but not in allowed to travel mode yet. So hopefully we're a couple weeks away from that being lifted. But unfortunately, won't be able to make it down. We'll be at our title sponsor, the Holy Grail, doing a watch party with some of my best Bearcat friends.
All right. And how can people, of course, follow your work?
You can find me on Twitter at Chad Brendel, at Bearcat Journal, and BearcatJournal.com is where you can find all our content. And looking forward to seeing another good one between the Bearcats and the Pirates on Friday.
No doubt about it. A great Black Friday. Enjoy it, my friend. We'll let you run, and we'll talk to you again very soon. I guess it'll be next time. We'll be on the hardwood.
Yeah, looking forward to it. Thanks, guys.
Thank you. All right, what a great time there with Chad. Appreciate Chad coming on for Bearcat Journal 24/7 Sports, and does a fantastic job. Dear friend, he's been good to us. Like I said at the beginning of the interview, like since 2018. It's going to be a lot of fun. I tell you what, by the way, just remember this. On Friday night in the 7 o'clock hour, just remember, bragging rights. I'm the only one on the show that picked our Pirates to win. Yes, I'm throwing everybody. It's late at night. I'm throwing our guys under the bus. Not really. But just remember that. Matt, just remember that, Bubba and Kyle.
I love it. I love the conviction. I love the confidence. And, hey, I hope you're right. I'll gladly eat crow in this situation, Dave.
Yeah, no doubt. And I might be the one eating crow, but we'll find out on Friday night who was right. And you guys are taking the safe pick. And I tell you what, Matt, I don't know if you remember, but the Marshall game, I was only Cat that still believed in this team. And it was not looking good. I understand, rightfully so. Down 17 in the fourth. I mean, most people in their right mind say there's no way in the world on the road you're down 17, you come back. We did. It was that point when you were talking about my confidence, that's Pirate football, what we did that day. Everybody talks about the SMU game. That was great last year. But for me, it was big time to have that Marshall come from behind. All that we had to do, including the onside kick. My God, if that's not Steve Logan, I don't know what is. And I know that's your coach. But to see that kind of stuff happen, you look at all the games, including the Memphis game. You look last week, and then, 2 weeks ago, then last week with Navy. There's something about this team that the fight they have in them. You were talking about the physicality, Matt. The physicality that we have with this team is what we needed to be to beat Cincinnati. And I was just thinking about during listening to Chad there is the very fact that we need to score a touchdown or two, punch them in the mouth early, and never look back. Just keep punching them, and pray to God the officiating. We'll see how that goes. But if we get the lead, man, how would that team, our team, react to having a lead on the number 2 team in the country, the number 4 team, number 3 team, whatever they are, depending on what poll, but definitely a top 5 team. That'll be interesting to see. It's going to be interesting to see, like I said, what if East Carolina has a lead or it's a really tight game in the 4th? That crowd is going to be – I know the crowd's going to be great, but, man, can you imagine – and we're going to wrap this up in just a second, I promise. Can you imagine the 4th quarter when they raise that no quarter flag and they play Welcome to the Jungle and we're up, or it's a very tight game? That stadium, thank God there's not a roof on it because it would come off. And I tell you, I'm just feeling really good about him. I'm not going to ramble. Bubba, I know we're very excited. We've got a big promotion for this game for the 4 tickets that we're giving away. And I guess Bubba's not back with us yet, but anyway.
Bubba may have passed out.
Yeah. No doubt. It's after midnight anyway. We're going to let it all hang out. So speaking of letting it all hang out, Matt, I know the fans going to be great. They're fired up. We're gonna do it. I just feel really good about it, and waiting for Bubba to come back to wrap this thing up.
I'll chime in while we're waiting for Bubba. I think the way we coach this game might be a little different. Like if we win the toss, I want the ball first. Everything I do in this game, I want to create and put pressure on Cincinnati to get this game into the second half, like you were just talking about, Dave, because that's when that pressure continues to build on them, put them in an uncomfortable spot. So win the toss. Obviously, we want to take the ball first. And if we could get a lead early in this game and start to establish some momentum, I think it would go a long way. And 2 quick things. I want to see Holton continue to be Holton and use his legs when the opportunity presents itself. I think that's going to be huge for us. And then conversely, we cannot allow Ritter to be effective on that zone read like we see week in and week out. They are so effective in that zone read when Ritter can take off and run. And even in the red zone too, he's very effective running the ball. So we've got to find a way to limit his plays in the running game, because those are the plays that can kill you. You get him in 3rd and 6, 3rd and 7, and the quarterback takes off for 15 yards. And those are backbreakers. So I think those are just 2 big things we really need to look out for, Dave.
I'm looking forward to it. I'll tell you what. You can still get your tickets. Call 1-800-DIAL-ECU and ECUPirates.com. And we have a huge ticket promotion we're giving away. You know what, folks? I'm telling you, you pay attention to the show. You never know what's going to happen. But we're stepping it up. We're going to give away 4 tickets. And I believe it was section 2. So you're going to have a good seat. It's more in the boneyard end of the thing, of the stadium. Just think about all the tailgating you're going to be able to do, all the fun you're going to be able to have. You come to the game, and we'll get the tickets to you one way or another. We'll figure it out. But I'm telling you, folks, it's going to be a lot of fun. And Bubba, are you there? I don't know where Bubba. Has anybody seen Bubba? It's
Bubba
12
said, I have work tomorrow. I'm going to bed. That's what Bubba said.
That's right. But anyway, we'll have that up on our social media if you're looking for it. It's obviously early Wednesday now, so we have to give away those tickets. Somebody, let me just say this: somebody will be thankful because Thanksgiving is coming up. They'll be thankful to have these tickets. And this is kind of like our Thanksgiving show. I just want to thank all the guys. Matt, very thankful to have you on the show. I want to wish you and Chrissy, your family, happy Thanksgiving. Bubba, Stacy, Riley, and Reese. And obviously want to give a shout out to Kyle and Jessica, all our great guests we have all the time, and all our great viewers, listeners. We appreciate you so much. Huge year. And Matt knows some things behind the scene. 2022 is going to be even bigger for our show. We're just getting started. Speaking of the Pirates and Mike Houston, we kind of came around the same time, and our show is growing just like the Pirates. We're winning now, so to speak. So we'll have that promotion up. We were going to go in detail, but let's wrap this thing up. Do you have anything before we go, Matt?
Jay, I just want to wish you guys a happy Thanksgiving. You guys do an incredible job with the show, and really appreciate all the hard work that you do. And also want to wish a happy Thanksgiving to Pirate Nation. I hope everybody enjoys it. And one last time, show up to that game. If you can do it, show up to that game and be loud. So just looking forward to it, Dave.
All right. Want to thank Kevin Monroe, Keith Stokes, Chad Brendel from Bearcat General 24/7 Sports, for Kyle, Bubba, and Matt. I'm Dave Richmond. And as always, good night, everybody, and go Pirates.